Millions of people invest in better food because they take health seriously. But one everyday habit often slips through unnoticed: reusing cooking oil that still looks clear, smells fine, and feels too wasteful to pour out. Oil is deceptive. Heat can change it chemically long before it changes in ways we can see. That gap between appearance and reality is where two costs appear: hidden health risk over time, and avoidable waste from not knowing when oil is still useful and when it has crossed the line. So, we're not here to debate always or never. We're here to understand what heat does to oil and use that knowledge to decide wisely. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. The science. What heat actually does to cooking oil. When cooking oil is heated, its structure begins to change in measurable ways. Oil is made of fatty acid chains that are relatively stable at room temperature, but under high heat, especially during frying, that stability breaks down. The first change is oxidation. Oxygen from the air reacts with heated fat molecules, forming breakdown products such as lipid peroxides and aldehydes. Aldehydes are not abstract risks. They are among the primary markers scientists use to assess oil degradation. Their concentration increases with higher temperatures and repeated reheating. At the same time, moisture from food triggers hydrolysis. Steam breaks triglycerides into free fatty acids, which are less stable and accelerate further oxidation. This is why oils used to cook moist or battered foods degrade much faster than oils used for dry, low-moisture cooking. Heat also causes polymerization. Some fat molecules bond together, forming larger compounds known as polar compounds. These substances thicken the oil, darken its color, and alter heat transfer. In food science, total polar compounds are one of the most common indicators used to decide when frying oil should be discarded. What matters most is accumulation. Fresh oil contains very low levels of these compounds. With repeated heat exposure, oil does not simply age, it becomes chemically different. That is why oil can still look acceptable while its internal structure has already crossed important safety thresholds. From the pan to the body, the invisible health costs. Once these altered compounds are formed, the focus shifts from the pan to the body. The concern with reused oil is rarely about acute toxicity. Instead, it lies in repeated exposure to reactive molecules such as aldehydes and oxidized fats over long periods of time. Aldehydes are chemically active. In the body, they do not simply pass through unchanged. They can interact with proteins, lipids, and cell membranes, increasing the oxidative burden that the body must neutralize. This places constant demand on antioxidant systems that are designed to handle occasional stress, not continuous low-level exposure. Over time, this added oxidative load contributes to a state known as low-grade chronic inflammation. This is not the kind of inflammation that causes immediate pain or obvious symptoms. Rather, it is a subtle background condition that has been associated in scientific literature with metabolic strain and an increased risk profile for long-term health issues. In this context, repeatedly heated oil is not the sole cause, but one contributing factor among many. This is why the health discussion around reused cooking oil focuses on patterns rather than individual meals. A single exposure is unlikely to matter. What matters is repetition. Small amounts, consumed regularly, create a cumulative effect that is easy to overlook, precisely because it does not announce itself. Understanding this reframes the decision entirely. The question is no longer whether reused oil is immediately dangerous, but whether it adds unnecessary stress to the body over time. For people who invest in better food, cleaner environments, and long-term well-being, this kind of hidden cost is often the most relevant one. A decision framework. When to reuse, when to downgrade, when to discard. Once we understand how heat changes oil and why those changes matter for health, the question naturally becomes practical. Not all reused oil carries the same level of risk, and treating every situation the same often leads to two extremes: unnecessary waste or unnecessary exposure. A better approach is to evaluate oil based on what it has already been through. The first factor is heat intensity. Oil that has been used for gentle cooking, such as light sautéing or brief pan frying at moderate temperatures, undergoes far less structural damage than oil used for deep frying. High, sustained heat accelerates oxidation, hydrolysis, and the formation of degradation products. In other words, how hot the oil became matters more than simply whether it was used before. The second factor is what was cooked in it. Foods that contain moisture, batter, or fine crumbs introduce water and residues into the oil. This not only speeds up chemical breakdown, but also leaves behind particles that continue reacting during storage. Oil used to fry battered fish behaves very differently from oil used to cook dry vegetables, even if both look similar afterward. The third factor is repetition. Each reheating cycle compounds the changes described earlier. Oil that has been heated once and cooled carefully is not the same as oil that has been reheated multiple times across several meals. The difference is not visible, but it is measurable in terms of accumulated degradation compounds. When these factors are considered together, a clearer pattern emerges. Some oil can be reused safely for low-stress tasks, such as quick sautéing or brief flavoring, where temperatures stay controlled and cooking time is short. This is not true reuse in the original sense, but a conscious downgrade in function. Oil that has been heavily stressed by high heat, moisture-rich foods, or repeated cycles no longer justifies further use, regardless of how it looks. This framework replaces rigid rules with judgment. Instead of asking, "Can oil be reused?" the more useful question becomes, "Has this oil already done enough work?" That shift alone reduces both health risks and unnecessary waste. Downgrading the task. A smart way to reuse cooking oil. In practice, reusing oil is less about doing the same thing again and more about changing what the oil is asked to do. Oil that has been used once at moderate heat can still handle short, low-stress tasks. Quick sautéing, brief stir-frying, or gently blooming aromatics like garlic or onions keep temperatures controlled and exposure time minimal. These uses limit additional oxidation and avoid pushing the oil closer to its breakdown point. What matters just as much is what reused oil should no longer do. Returning it to deep frying, especially for battered or moisture-rich foods, combines high heat, water, and long cooking time, exactly the conditions that accelerate chemical degradation. Even if the oil looks fine, this kind of reuse adds unnecessary stress to an already altered structure. Seen this way, reuse is not repetition, it is reassignment. By reserving reused oil for lighter work and retiring it from heavy tasks, you reduce exposure to degraded compounds while avoiding waste that comes from discarding oil too early. Smart reuse is not about stretching oil to its limit. It is about using it where it still performs safely and letting it go when it no longer does. Oil storage. Why how you store it matters as much as how you use it. Even when oil is reassigned to lighter tasks, what happens after cooking still matters. Storage determines whether the oil remains relatively stable or continues to degrade quietly over time. In many kitchens, oil is left uncovered, exposed to light, air, and residual heat. Chemically, this means the same reactions triggered during cooking are allowed to continue, just more slowly. One of the most overlooked factors is leftover food particles. Tiny crumbs and sediments act as active sites for further oxidation. If oil is stored without filtering, these particles keep reacting with oxygen, accelerating breakdown even when the oil is no longer being heated. This is why oil can worsen during storage, not just during cooking. Exposure to air and light plays a similar role. Oxygen fuels oxidation, while light provides energy that speeds it up. An open container on the countertop may look harmless, but it creates ideal conditions for continued chemical change. Over time, oil stored this way accumulates degradation compounds even if it is never reheated. Proper storage, therefore, is not about extending oil indefinitely. It is about slowing further damage. Allowing oil to cool fully, straining it to remove residues, sealing it in an opaque container, and keeping it in a cool, dark place all reduce the rate at which degradation progresses. There is also one habit worth avoiding entirely: mixing fresh oil with used oil. While it may seem practical, this practice exposes new oil to reactive compounds already present in the old one, effectively lowering the quality of both. Once oil has been heated, it should be treated as a separate category, managed with intention rather than convenience. Seen together, these steps reinforce a simple idea. Smart reuse does not end at the stove. How oil is handled afterward often determines whether reuse remains reasonable or quietly crosses into unnecessary risk. Oil types and limits. Why no oil is immune to heat? At this point, it is tempting to look for a simple solution in the choice of oil itself. Many people assume that using the right oil removes the problem entirely. In reality, oil selection can reduce risk, but it cannot eliminate it. The key difference lies in fatty acid structure. Oils higher in saturated or monounsaturated fats, such as olive oil or coconut oil, are generally more resistant to heat-induced oxidation. Their molecular structure is less reactive, which means degradation happens more slowly compared to oils rich in polyunsaturated fats like soybean, sunflower, or corn oil. This is why some oils perform better under heat. However, heat stability does not mean immunity. Even the most stable oils undergo oxidation, hydrolysis, and polymerization when exposed to repeated or prolonged heating. The same degradation markers, aldehydes, and polar compounds still form, only at a slower rate. Time and temperature eventually catch up with every oil. This distinction matters because it reframes expectations. Choosing a more heat-stable oil is a form of risk management, not a free pass. It extends the margin of safety, but it does not remove the need for judgment. Relying on oil choice alone while ignoring temperature, repetition, and storage simply shifts the problem rather than solving it. Understanding these limits brings the discussion full circle. Smart cooking is not about finding a perfect oil. It is about recognizing that all oils have boundaries, and that respecting those boundaries is what truly protects both health and resources. Reusing cooking oil is not automatically dangerous, but it is never completely neutral. Heat changes oil in ways we cannot see, and the real risk comes from repetition, high temperatures, and careless storage. When you understand that, the decision becomes simple. Use oil within its limits, downgrade its role when appropriate, and discard it when it has done too much work. That is how you protect both your health and your resources without fear and without waste. If you have a simple kitchen habit you want us to examine next, leave it in the comments.